ask you something. This is my fundamental question. I'm getting my information about Great Britain through the media. I'm over here in Boston, and I'm watching it's Sky.
Well, you're
Sky
on the
News,
British media.
blah, blah, blah. And it's true, but I'm getting my information through them. If America had a foreign power bring radioactive isotopes and then nerve agent to our country, people would literally be in the streets outside the embassy screaming. It would be a total crisis, not of government, but of the people. They would be angry about their national sovereignty. I don't sense that with the British. Am I just missing it?
In a sense. I mean, obviously, the British tend to approach things in a different way. But a couple of points. This is the second time this has happened.
Exactly.
And it's not just that a former Russian citizen and his family has been injured. A British police officer has also been injured, and very seriously injured. And this is front page news across the board, and statements have been made in Parliament of the most severe nature as to the ramifications of this if the investigation suggests that as you say, what has happened is that a foreign power has done this in the United Kingdom. I mean, I'm someone who generally has been very sceptical about conflict with Russia, be it in Ukraine, be it in Crimea, to the point that, like most other people, including your president, Nigel Farage, and all sorts of others, I've been accused of being a Russian spy.
Right.
But I certainly draw the line at these sorts of outrageous acts which not only impugn upon our national sovereignty, but also put our citizens at severe risk. And I would ask the Russian government to seriously consider their behavior if it transpires that they have been involved, and take urgent efforts to make reparations to avoid, I don't think it would be too far to say, a second Cold War.
Yeah, and there you do have power. That's the other thing, too, that's interesting to me about Britain. This isn't, I mean, not to be, mean to the Estonians or the Latvians or the Lithuanians, but, their ability to project power is limited. And I was fascinated. I was listening to a conversation on TalkRadio earlier this week, and they're comparing the numbers of tanks. Well, that's not where Britain has its power with the Russians. It comes from the financial markets, where Britain is a major player, the size of its economy. There's a lot that Britain can do if it decides to. But remember what happened with the Litvinenko case, where really nothing happened. What was it? 4 Russians were sent home, and that was pretty much it.
Well, I don't know about that. I think the Litvinenko case was a precursor to the frostening of relations between the West and Russia. It was an early precursor, but I think if you think back to the early 2000s when George W. Bush was going out and having convivial summits with Putin, and he was an ally in the war on terror, I think Litvinenko marks the beginning of a decline in that relationship to the point we're at now, which, as I say, is on the precipice of being a second Cold War. So the way Britain does things is different to the way the United States does things. But as you rightly say, we are the 5th largest economy in the world. We have a very large and effective military in the world stage. And historically, people haven't come off too well picking fights with us. I'm not an interventionist. I don't believe we should be going all over the world starting wars. But Britain is a country that will robustly defend itself and defend its sovereignty.
So let me ask it this way, and it's maybe putting it in a slightly different context. We're talking to Ben Harris, chairman of the Bow Group. If I were in a pub tonight somewhere, and this topic, someone talked about it, would there be passion from the guy, standing there having a drink? Would it impact him?
Yeah, I think there would, mainly for the reason, as I say, that a British police officer is now in hospital that has been seriously injured by this attack.
Well, let me be rude like an American and interrupt you, because I got to remind everybody that I'm in fact an American, so I will do that by interrupting you. In America, it wouldn't matter if it was a cop; it could be a drug dealer. It could have been a guy in a prison, waiting his execution for child murder, and we would go because it wouldn't be about the guy. You know what I mean, Ben? It would be about
it's the
us, about our border.
Yeah.
That you crossed our. I mean, like if you killed some American is in Turkey and causing trouble, our attitude is, dude, you shouldn't have gone to Turkey. That's that. But if someone came over and did something, we feel that sovereignty so much. And I know we're weird. I know we're different. I just don't know how different we are, though. I sense with Brexit and with.
No, I don't think we're that different. I think we may react in immediacy in different ways, but generally we have the same principles. We believe in national sovereignty. We believe that the first duty of government is to defend its citizenry. And so I think that the Great Britain and the United States share that. I do think there is a line, though, because I'm not saying that anyone would be happy about a Russian citizen being killed in Britain.
Right.
But when it's a British citizen being seriously injured and killed, this is into the realms of terrorism. It might be state-sponsored terrorism, but it is terrorism. And that's how I think the British people feel about it. That's how I feel about it. And it is totally unacceptable. And it must be met with an equal and opposite reaction.
Let me ask you if you think that Brexit has been a shift or if it was a moment. I think it's fascinating that despite the tidal wave of anti-Brexit media that you've had in Great Britain since the vote, despite the collective opinion of the super smart elites that this is a vote cast by Neanderthals, that the approval numbers, every time I see a poll, they're about the same. It's still that kind of upper 40s are for it and lower 40s are against it, and that's where Britain is. Has national sovereignty maybe reawakened a bit in Great Britain?
Well, I think the British people have always been a pugnacious, patriotic people, and for me, because we had all these economic forecasts of how we're all going to be starving on the streets as a result of Brexit and all the rest of it, but for me, it's the Thomas Jefferson quote encapsulates the spirit best, which is that we will embrace dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. We want to govern our own nation, and if that means that things turn out worse, well, fine. Our destiny is in our own hands, and that's, of course, the very spirit of the foundation of the United States also.
And it's interesting, too, we're having a similar dynamic. Donald Trump's poll numbers keep inching up. They're still historically low, but they keep inching up because the Democrats said that the tax plan that was going to go through was going to raise everyone's taxes. And they were just saying these ridiculous lies. I mean, it was just nonsense. I mean, even they were kind of blushing as they did it. Well, the problem they have is, our dominated by the left media ran out and repeated them. Well, what happened? The law goes into effect and people's taxes don't go up, their taxes go down, their paychecks get bigger, there's more money in their actual bank account. And now Trump is experiencing a positive blowback, if you will. He's getting a bounce because people are going, not only do they have more money, but hey, you guys lied to me. And I think I see some of that in the reaction of Brexit as well. If the anti-Brexit people hadn't been so apocalyptic, I don't know that you'd be in the same position you are today politically.
Well, yeah, I mean, in both countries, it was a throwing off of a failed establishment, a neo-aristocracy that had developed in the United States with, of course, the Bushes and the Clintons. And we had our own political class that had been running things for several decades in the United Kingdom. And we were thankfully able to effect peaceful revolution via a vote. The quote that best summed it up for me after the US election was Bill Clinton saying, we thought we had changed their minds, we had actually just silenced their voices. You can have wall-to-wall media coverage telling people what to think, but it doesn't really work. People will think what they want to think. And I think in America and in the United Kingdom, the people have grown tired of the lies, of the failures, and of the arrogance, frankly, of the political class that had developed.
Okay, I have to ask you one more thing. First of all, thank you for quoting 2 Americans in this interview, Ben. I love the sucking up to the host. That's very good, but it's not required. Secondly, that's the only reason I let you get away with your pugnacious, patriotic people. I mean, we have a limit to the alliteration we allow on this aforementioned